Understanding Islamic-Jewish relations, as well as Islamic-Christian relations, is becoming increasingly imperative. Today, Asar Nathem Dawood is a Christian refugee who fled from persecution in Iraq. Living in Lebanon with her sister, they are both orphans because their father died naturally and their mother died in an explosion. Asar is forced to live in poverty with only the clothes on her back, for she had to leave her home in fear of being persecuted because of her faith. In this documentary, we explore the status of Christians and Jews in a time where they lived peacefully under Islamic rule, the Dhimmis. Between 622 CE and 632 CE, Muhammad established the Islamic State, where he fulfilled the leadership roles as prophet, ruler, military chief, and judge. Muhammad viewed Jerusalem as a center of barakah, which is the spiritual presence of God that flows through those closest to God. Muhammad encouraged the Jews and Christians to translate and read their holy texts in Arabic, for he viewed the holy text as a source of knowledge and an object of reverence. Muhammad also encouraged the Muslims to socialize with the Christians and Jews, for those minorities were seen as closer to Muslims than any other non-believers. The main ground for identifying minorities living within Dar al-Islam, which are lands under Islamic rule, is whether the group submits to the will of Allah, as ordered in the Quran, or does not submit to the will of Allah. Within Dar al-Islam, the classification of Christians, Jews, and other religious communities became the method for conceptualizing the other within Islam. The people of the book, including Christians, Jews, and Sabians, had holy texts that the Muslims considered to be divinely received. The Sabians are the remnants of older Jewish tribes who follow the teachings of John the Baptist. These people of the book were invited to convert to Islam or accept the alternative dhimmi status offered by Islamic law. Dhimmi status is remaining under protection of the Islamic State with certain rights in their own religious practice, but under the laws and regulations of Islamic jurisdiction. Dhimmis were allowed independence and practice and maintenance of their own religious and social affairs, as long as they did not impede the Muslim faith or practices. They had the right to freedom of belief, conscience, and worship. Muhammad required all male, free, and mentally sane dhimmis to pay a poll tax called jizya in exchange for official tolerance and legal recognition under the law. The dhimmis were given protection under the Islamic State from persecution, but were restricted from seeking converts to their religion or promoting their faith outside of their own family. Dhimmis were encouraged to embrace the idea that Islam was the ultimate truth, although they were not required to convert to Islam. Muhammad also recognized Jesus as a prophet and considered Abraham as the model Muslim surrendered to Allah. Muhammad developed the Constitution of Medina, which established his rule over the young Muslim community, and built a mosque where he administered the religio-political, economic, and legal affairs of the Medinians. Muhammad felt sympathetic to the Jews of Arabia during the Meccan period, but after accusations of the Jewish tribes of Medina collaborating with Meccan enemies of Muhammad, the relationship was spoiled. Muhammad originally offered Friday as the beginning of the Sabbath and the city of Jerusalem as the direction for prayer, but after his relationship with the Jews was spoiled, he selected Mecca toward which to pray. When Muhammad ruled Medina, the Prophet fought and conquered Jewish tribes who opposed the Islamic religion. His frustration is reflected in the Quran, as well as the Prophet's biography and traditions. Jews were later forced out of Medina. Umar, the second caliph, was appointed by Abu Bakr shortly before his death in 634 CE. Caliph, derived from Khalifa, is the title given to rulers of the Islamic Empire, and the caliph rules over a caliphate, which is the state ruled by the caliph and led by the Islamic government. Umar sent armies deep into Syria and moved against Egypt, where Byzantine forces were defeated and sent into full retreat to north. Certain lands he captured would become Islamic State properties. The expansion that he began would last for 100 years, and by the end of 750 CE, Islam would be found across the Middle East, across North Africa into Spain, and across Iraq and Iran into Central Asia. He is also viewed by historians as a pivotal figure, as he was able to conquer the great superpowers of his time, the Byzantines and the Sassanids. In 638 CE, an expedition was set forth to continue the conquering of the Arabian Peninsula. After passing through several regions, it reached the area of the Banu Talib, where they found that this particular tribe had already left and sought refuge in the Byzantine Empire. When Umar learned about this, he demanded that the Banu Talib be extradited, which the Byzantine emperor conceded to. However, once they were extradited, Al-Walid ibn Uqba, the leader of the expedition for the conquest of the Arabian Peninsula, only forced them to convert to Islam. Al-Walid negotiated with the Banu Talib that they would not christen their babies or prevent anyone from pursuing Islam. He also asked them to pay jizya. The Banu Talib agreed to everything except for paying jizya, so the leaders of the tribe were sent to negotiate with Umar, whom they told that they would agree to pay the tax if they were granted safety. The tribe also threatened to go back to the Byzantine Empire if they had to pay the tax. Umar agreed to this condition. Under the peace terms with the Banu Talib, they were not to baptize their children, and their sadaqah should be doubled that of Muslims. Sadaqah is a voluntary donation of charity. Also, under the treaty, none of the members of the tribe should be forced to change their religion. At the end of it, the Banu Talib were not exempt from paying the jizya. This tax was just simply paid in the form of sadaqah and was double the amount of the jizya. Overall, history shows that Umar treated the Dhimmis favorably, reciting, "Let there be no compulsion in this religion from the Quran when the people of the book refused to convert." According to the story, in 637 CE, Umar was invited to personally accept the letter of surrender from Elia. During this visit, the foundation for relations between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam were laid down in Umar's assurance aman of safety. When the Christian leadership formally resigned, Umar issued this aman, which said that residents of Jerusalem will be given security of life and property, that they will have the freedom of religion, the Jews would be forbidden to live in Jerusalem, and that residents will have to pay the jizya or head tax. Because of the sanctity of Aliyah for Christians, the Patriarch Sophronius wanted the surrender to occur in the presence of the head of the Muslim state. He also wanted a guarantee that Christian lives and places of worship would be preserved and to negotiate with Umar about the implementation of rules. Historians have debated the authenticity and the interpretation of Umar's assurance, and try to determine which version is the most authentic. The attribution of this treaty to Umar was taken from several different texts. While some historians state that these conditions were laid down by Umar, those who read the text of Ibn Sa'd and Al-Tabari, along with other texts, believe that it was the Prophet Muhammad who made this treaty. The early accounts of the assurance were short, without a date, and had no restrictions regarding Jews. These versions did not refer to the jizya tax, which raises the question of whether or not other parts had been deleted as well. Later versions were much more detailed and differing in length. Al-Tabari's version is one of the most famous versions of the assurance. Also, unlike the earlier versions, his mentions the jizya tax, as shown by the quote, "The people of Aliyah must pay the jizya tax like Al-Mada'in, the other people of the regions or cities." Another famous document associated with Umar is the Pact of Umar. The document outlined the obligations of non-Muslims living within the Islamic State. Under the concept of dhimma, the relationship between Islamic people and the people of the book was first established. The people of the book have a special position in the Quran because their holy texts, such as the Bible and Torah, were believed to be divinely received. The people of the book, just like Muslims, believe in one creator, prophethood, divine revelation, and the law of divine punishment. Later, this pact developed into the millet system for legally defined religious minorities in the Ottoman Empire. Judges granted dhimmi status to kitabis, or people who were religious scriptuaries. The dhimmis could then practice their own religions as long as it didn't interfere with the Muslim religion. As you can see, the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims are extensive, and the encounters of these groups has connected them in many aspects up to this day, both religiously and politically. Understanding how the Islamic community has not only assisted Christians and Jews in their time of persecution, but also lived side by side with them peacefully, should not only be respected, but replicated today.